What if I told you that trying to make your website perfectly readable for an AI is actually the exact thing that's destroying your traffic?
It sounds completely backwards, but yeah, it's true.
Right. I mean, you know that feeling of sheer exhaustion when you try to keep up with the internet these days? It feels like, well, the moment you figure out the rules of the game, someone just flips the board over.
Oh, absolutely. The landscape is moving incredibly fast right now.
Yeah, and if you're a content creator, a marketer, or honestly just a curious reader who sometimes looks at a web page and wonders, like, why is this written so strangely? You probably felt this tension.
You definitely have.
Because you've got traditional Google search, which we all know,
Yeah.
but now you have AI overviews popping up at the very top of your screen. And then you have generative engines like Perplexity or ChatGPT acting as entirely new ways to search. It's just a constant treadmill.
It really is.
So today, our mission on this deep dive is to unpack this incredibly relevant excerpt from a text called The Triad of Modern Search Optimization. We are going hunting for the absolute holy grail of digital content.
A big question.
Exactly. Can you perfectly optimize a single blog post for traditional SEO, AIO, which is AI overviews, and GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, all at the exact same time? Like, is there one perfect piece of content that can rule them all?
Well, to jump right into the source text and answer that, I have to be the bearer of bad news here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the text addresses this assumption pretty bluntly. It states that believing you can perfectly optimize one post for all three platforms simultaneously is, quote, a fantasy of compromise. It's a complete illusion.
A fantasy of compromise. Wow. That is a brutal reality check right out of the gate.
It is, but it's a necessary one.
For sure. And it sets the stakes for us perfectly. Because if you're trying to reach an audience today, understanding this triad SEO, AIO, and NGEO is essentially the decoder ring for the modern internet.
Yeah.
It explains why the web looks the way it does right now. So since you just dropped the hammer and told us this all-in-one optimization is a fantasy, let's look at exactly where the illusion breaks down. I want to start with the physical, visual structure of the text itself.
Right, the formatting.
Yeah, because the source points out this massive conflict between brevity and depth.
Yeah, the physical structure is really where the conflict becomes visible to the user. It comes down to what these different software systems are fundamentally engineered to reward.
Okay, so what do they want?
Well, on one side of the triad, you have AIO and GEO. These AI-driven engines prioritize extreme brevity because large language models have, specific context windows and computational limits.
Right.
So they're essentially hunting for what the text calls concise, punchy truth nuggets.
Truth nuggets, I like that.
Yeah, they want small, perfectly packaged pieces of information that the machine can effortlessly parse, extract, and cite. They don't want to process thousands of irrelevant words to find one fact.
Which makes sense, because if I ask an AI a question, I want the answer immediately. I don't want it to read me a novel before giving me the answer.
Exactly. The user experience demands speed, and the architecture of the AI demands efficiency. But then, on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have traditional SEO.
The old guard.
Right. For decades, traditional search algorithms have rewarded comprehensive, long-form content, and the underlying mechanism there is a metric called dwell time.
Dwell time. So how long you stay on the page?
Yes. Traditional search engines monitor how long a user stays on a page before hitting that back button. If you stay on a page reading a massive, comprehensive guide for 10 minutes, the algorithm reads that sustained human attention as a massive signal of quality and relevance.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the blind spot here is massive. As a creator, you are essentially trying to make a movie that is simultaneously a 15-second viral TikTok and a 3-hour Martin Scorsese epic.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. And if you try to smash them together, you don't get a masterpiece that appeals to both audiences. You get a jarring, unwatchable mess.
You do. And the text introduces a brilliant term for that exact mess. They call it Frankenstein formatting.
Oh, Frankenstein formatting. That is so accurate.
Because creators try to serve both the machine's need for extraction and the search engine's need for dwell time, and it just results in a structural disaster.
And we've all experienced this as readers, right? Like, you click on an article because you want to read a compelling story or a deep analysis, and suddenly the page is just cluttered with these weird, out-of-context FAQ blocks.
Yes, exactly.
Or like bulleted summary boxes shoved right into the middle of a flowing paragraph, it feels like the article is having an identity crisis.
It really does.
And my major pushback on this whole strategy is the irony of it. Because by trying to please the AI with those weirdly placed truth nuggets, you completely disrupt the narrative flow for the actual human being reading it.
Which backfires completely.
Right. When the human gets annoyed by the robotic interruptions and clicks away, your dwell time tanks. Which means, by trying to optimize for the AI, you just destroyed the traditional SEO you were trying to protect.
Yeah, that irony is actually a documented algorithmic consequence. You attempt to satisfy conflicting parameters and end up failing both.
It's a lose-lose.
It is. The AI often gets confused by the surrounding narrative fluff when it tries to extract a clean fact, and the human abandons the page because the robotic formatting strips away the natural rhythm of human communication.
Right, nobody wants to read bullet points halfway through an emotional story.
Exactly. It happens because creators are treating their text as a vessel for data extraction rather than, a psychological experience for a reader.
Yeah, landing on a disjointed web page that feels like it was written by a robot for a robot is practically a universal experience now. But formatting is really just the superficial layer, isn't it?
It is. It's just the cosmetic issue.
The source text points out that the deeper, much more structural conflict lies in the actual substance of the information being presented. Like, how do these different engines actually judge what is true or valuable?
And this introduces the second major conflict in the text, which is information game versus consensus.
Okay.
This is where the structural integrity of the whole one perfect post idea completely crumbles, because the AI engines themselves, AIO and GEO, actually evaluate data using two entirely different philosophies.
Really?
Yeah, they are not a unified monolith.
Wait, so they aren't even looking for the same kind of facts?
No, they are inherently at odds. So AIO, which are those AI overviews you see at the top of traditional Google results, is engineered for consensus.
Consensus. Okay.
The underlying reason there is liability and hallucination risk. Big tech companies do not want their built-in AI giving wild, unverified, or dangerous answers.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want the AI telling people to eat rocks or something.
Exactly. Therefore, the AIO algorithm is programmed to be incredibly risk-averse. It essentially aggregates what the top-ranking sites are saying, finds the overlapping data points, and spits out the safest median truth.
Which makes sense for a massive search engine trying to provide a stable, reliable utility to billions of people.
Right. But then you look at GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, which applies to platforms like Perplexity or ChatGPT when they actively browse the web to synthesize an answer.
Okay, and how are they different?
These engines are designed to mimic research assistants. So they crave what the data science industry calls information game.
Information game.
Yes. They are programmed to actively seek out unique perspectives, brand new data points, and specialized idiosyncratic sources. If a generative engine only pulled the exact same safe consensus as standard Google, it would offer no unique product value.
Oh, I see. It has to be different to be useful.
Exactly. It wants to cite the source that brings a net new mathematical vector or semantic concept to the table.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because, wait, I'm genuinely confused here. Let me pose a scenario because this feels fundamentally broken.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's say I am a researcher. I spend a year doing original, groundbreaking research on a topic, maybe material science, and I discover something entirely new that completely contradicts the current mainstream understanding.
Okay.
If I publish those findings, am I actually going to get punished by AIO because my accurate, groundbreaking data isn't the safe consensus yet? Like, are we building an internet that actively suppresses new ideas?
Yeah, so this raises a very important question, and it highlights a deeply uncomfortable flaw in current search architecture.
So I would be punished.
The short answer is yes. A brand new scientific discovery will likely be ignored by an AIO snippet because it lacks the volume of consensus the algorithm requires for safety.
Wow.
The source text explicitly warns about this dynamic, calling it the trap of mid-content.
Mid-content, like middle of the road.
Yes, exactly. If you as a writer try to play it safe, just repeating the same basic median fact as everyone else just to win that safe AIO snippet at the top of the search page, your content becomes generic.
Right.
And because it lacks any unique semantic delta, any new ideas, the GEO engines looking for information gain will completely ignore you.
So you win one but lose the other.
Yes. They will bypass your generic post in favor of bolder, more specialized sources. The foundational logic gap is basically this. A single paragraph cannot simultaneously be the universally agreed upon safe consensus and the highly unique idiosyncratic outlier.
Yeah, it is mathematically impossible to be the average and the outlier at the exact same time.
Exactly.
So if trying to please all three of these engines guarantees failure, if we are dealing with conflicting formatting and fundamentally opposing demands for substance, how is anyone supposed to publish anything successfully?
It's the big dilemma.
Right.
Yeah.
And the source text demands a pretty massive pivot here, suggesting we need to stop looking at the algorithms entirely.
Yeah. The text argues that optimizing for the engine, trying to reverse engineer conflicting algorithms, is a guaranteed losing battle. You just can't do it.
So what's the alternative?
The necessary mindset shift is called optimization by intent. You must pivot your focus entirely to the user's psychological state. What is the human actually trying to achieve in the exact moment they hit that search button?
And if we look at human psychology, the text outlines 3 specific types of user intent and the tactical moves for each.
Right.
The first one is informational intent. This is when the user is simply asking, what is X, or how do I do Y?
Yes, and when a user has informational intent, the text states your priority should heavily skew toward AIO and GEO, because the user wants a rapid, frictionless answer.
They just want the facts.
Exactly. The tactical move is to keep the text short, use high-density facts, and implement highly technical schema markup.
And schema markup, for those who might not know, is essentially invisible code that you add to your website.
Yeah.
It acts as a direct translator for the AI. Like, instead of forcing the machine to read a paragraph to figure out if the number 100 refers to a price, a temperature, or a calorie count, schema tags that number with specific metadata. The machine instantly understands the context.
It makes it effortless for the machine. And the crucial behavioral advice here for informational intent: ditch the 2,000-word fluff.
Yeah, I love an analogy, and looking at this strategy of optimizing by intent, it's exactly like dressing for the weather, rather than trying to impress 3 completely different fashion critics at the same time.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
If the user's intent is informational, they just want a quick fact,
Yeah.
It's pouring rain outside, give them the umbrella. The umbrella is your short, high-density facts and your schema markup. Keep them dry and get them on their way.
Leave the heavy coat inside.
Exactly. Leave the heavy 2,000-word winter coat in the closet. Because if I am looking up the boiling point of a chemical, I do not want your massive, sprawling essay about the history of chemistry. I just want the number. Giving them the heavy coat when it's just raining makes the user miserable.
That perfectly captures the psychology. You are providing exactly what their mental state demands in that micro moment.
Right. And then what's the next one?
The text identifies the second type as commercial intent. This occurs when a user searches for things like best tools for X or reviews of Y.
And for commercial intent, I want you, the listener, to imagine you are sitting down to write a review of a new digital camera. The generative engines do not care about the camera's spec sheet. A machine can scrape a spec sheet from the manufacturer's website in a millisecond.
It already has the specs.
Right. What you need to provide is the human element. The priority here shifts to traditional SEO and GEO. The text has to focus on unique reviews and highly detailed comparison tables.
Because traditional SEO needs the relevant keywords to structure the search, but GEO desperately needs the information gain we discussed earlier. It wants the unique, hands-on testing data that only a human possesses.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, commercial optimization is now about proving human physical experience.
Proving you actually use the thing.
Exactly. An AI can list the megapixel count of that camera, but only a human can write, "The shutter button feels cheap and sticky after an hour of shooting." That sticky button detail is a unique semantic vector. It proves information gain.
I love that. The sticky button is the key.
It really is. And finally, the third type is navigational intent. This is when a user is simply trying to locate a specific login portal or a company's customer service page.
Which means the priority is strictly traditional SEO. An AI overview is rarely going to trigger when someone types bank login page because, well, there's no complex query to summarize.
Exactly.
So the move is just clean metadata and straightforward site architecture. It really forces you to ask, when I type a query, what do I actually want? Recognizing that intent cuts right through the algorithmic noise.
It grounds the entirely technical process of SEO back in fundamental human empathy.
Okay, but let's be real for a second here.
Sure.
Empathy and intent are fantastic concepts, but we both know the practical realities of the business world.
Oh, definitely.
Sometimes your boss or your client or your own limited budget says, I don't care about the triad or user intent. I only have the time and money for you to write one single blog post. You have to do it all in one.
It happens all the time.
The source text acknowledges this necessary evil. So how does it suggest managing this one-post compromise without creating that unreadable Frankenstein page we talked about earlier?
Well, the text provides strict boundaries for this scenario. If you absolutely insist on one post, you must mentally accept that you are prioritizing one specific engine as the primary target and only secondary optimizing for the others.
You have to choose a favorite.
Basically, yeah. You cannot give them equal real estate. To accomplish this without breaking the reader's flow, the source prescribes a very specific architectural funnel. Think of it like a highly structured three-course meal.
Okay, walk us through the meal. What is the appetizer?
Step 1, the appetizer, is leading with the TLDR summary right at the very top of the page. This is your concise, punchy section. It appeases the AIO's need for a safe, quick consensus extraction before the user even starts scrolling.
Gives the machine exactly what it wants right away.
Exactly. Then, step 2, the main course, immediately follows. This is your unique data, your original charts, or your exclusive quotes. This feeds GEO.
Wow.
By placing your information gain right after the summary, the generative engines can find the fresh data without digging through pages of text.
Okay, and the dessert.
Finally, step 3 is the dessert and coffee. You wrap the entire back half of the page in deep dive context. This is the long-form, comprehensive elaboration that satisfies traditional SEO's need for dwell time. It gives the human reader a narrative to sink into.
So, TLDR, then the unique data, then the deep dive context. It is a very logical structure.
It works well.
But, so what does this all mean? Because the text ends with what I think is the ultimate reality check, pointing out the absolute weakest link in this entire industry of search optimization.
It does. The text states that the fatal flaw of modern content creation is treating SEO, AIO, and GEO as 3 distinct destinations.
Right. They aren't different destinations. They're just 3 different technical lenses looking at the exact same underlying data.
Exactly.
We spend hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars agonizing over formatting, headers, invisible schema tags, and where to place the TLDR. But if the core idea of your post is fundamentally boring, it is dead on arrival. No amount of formatting magic or architectural funneling is going to save a generic thought.
What's fascinating here is how the text entirely strips away the illusion of the growth hack. If the data itself is generic, no amount of reformatting will compel a generative engine to cite you because you offer no information gain.
It just sees right through it.
It does. Knowledge is only valuable when it possesses actual substance. Good, original, deeply researched data is the concrete foundation of the house. The triad of search optimization, all the funnels and markup tags, that is merely the window dressing. If you build a house out of cardboard, it really doesn't matter how beautifully you paint the windows.
That is so true.
Yeah.
A beautifully formatted, perfectly schema-marked, SEO-optimized piece of garbage is still just a piece of garbage.
Precisely.
The AI engines are becoming far too sophisticated to be fooled by structural tricks. They're mathematically designed to seek out real substance.
And that perfectly encapsulates the journey we've taken through this source material.
Yeah, it really does.
We began with this fantasy that you could build one perfect mechanical trap to catch every algorithm. We explored how the conflicting demands for brevity versus depth and the tension between safe consensus and unique insight make that all-in-one approach structurally impossible.
It's a fantasy.
And ultimately, we arrive back at the supremacy of original, high-quality human thought.
It really brings everything full circle. We started this deep dive by talking about the sheer exhaustion trying to keep up with shifting algorithms. But in a strange way, the solution this text offers is incredibly liberating.
It is.
Stop chasing the algorithm. Stop trying to write a disjointed Frankenstein post and just focus on the human intent and the unique quality of your own original ideas.
Just write something good.
Exactly. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something that builds on this entire dynamic we've been unpacking.
Oh, okay.
The text makes it very clear that traditional SEO relies on human engagement, that metric of dwell time, humans reading a narrative. Meanwhile, generative AI currently demands machine efficiency, those cold, hard, easily extractable truth nuggets.
Right.
But as these massive AI models continue to evolve, they are getting exponentially better at understanding not just raw facts, but actual human behavior and preference.
That's true. They're learning fast.
So what happens when the divide between the machine's preference and the human's preference completely collapses? What if the next generation of AI search engines stops looking for sterile bullet points and starts actively prioritizing beautiful flowing narrative simply because the machine realizes that human beings still vastly prefer reading a good story?
That's a fascinating idea.
If the algorithm eventually learns to measure and reward emotional resonance instead of just information density, how will that change the way you write tomorrow? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.